What's going on, everyone? And we are back today with another set 2 deck tech, which is pretty cool. Not even necessarily deck tech, but more so just testing out some cards live for you all, as I have been messing around with a bunch of the new cards. And one of them, as well, we'll see with basically the entire set, is Triple Dark Raid over here. Now, this card is pretty sweet, and it really kind of changes the dynamic of a lot of different decks if you want to build around it. But it also fits perfectly within the Boba colors, so I figured we'd try out a Boba red shell, and then we talk about a few of the cards in this list and the kind of whole idea around this list for set 2. Guys, if you want to pick up any of the cards here for set 2 or any of the cards for set 1, I have a TCG player link in the description down below. And let's dive into the set 2 Triple Dark Raid Boba red list here. So the whole deck is built around Triple Dark Raid. This card allows you to search the top 7 cards of your deck for a vehicle card and play it. And then you are able to pay 5 less for that. You can't play it for free, but it enters play ready, and then you have to return it to its owner's hand at the end of the phase. So it's kind of like a bigger version of Sneak Attack for vehicles, except instead of sacrificing it, you have to return it to your hand. So the idea behind this is we want to play a bunch of big vehicles and then just get in for some bursts of damage, allowing us to kind of close out the game. So Triple Dark Raid isn't actually this like value engine in our deck. We could play like Boba Blue, for example, and try to get Avengers or things like that that can do stuff when they come down. And some of our cards do so, something like a Chimera, for example, or Ruthless Raider, or even, Xanadu Blood. But the idea is to use this as essentially like a 3-resource, 4-resource burn spell. So if you pay this and then +1 resource, you can get a Ruthless Raider into play, or a Xanadu Blood into play, or even a Fet's Fire Spray into play, and then you just get in for some damage. So it acts kind of like, well, for a cause, except for villainy. That's the kind of idea. And of course, if you're in a spot where you can go ahead and pay, let's say, 6 resources, you have 6 resources, so 3 additional on top of Triple Dark Raid, you can get a Chimera into play. And then you could do some really crazy stuff, right? If you end up naming the right card, you can make them discard, but it's also just an 8-powered attacker, which can be really, really massive. Outside of that, we are a very aggressively slanted deck. We have things like Greedo, Stormtrooper, 7th Fleet, that type of stuff. In terms of newer cards as well, we have the TIE Sensors, a really early space unit, a punishing one. We have the Surprise Strikes, the Shoot First. We have the Hot Shot Blaster. We have Dr. Evazan, and of course, we have Boba Fett's armor in the deck. And if you don't hit like a Ruthless Raider or Fet's Fire Spray or Xanadu Blood, which it's pretty rare that you're not going to hit one of these bigger cards, well, we have things like Punishing One or 7th Fleet Defender or Kylo Silencer to get in for some damage, and you won't have to pay any extra for it, which is nice. So that's the kind of idea behind this deck. We're going to dive in and try some games, and hopefully we can get some wins. Let's get into it. So for our first match, it looks like we're against a Boba Blue player, and I'm guessing they're a little bit more controlling, and so we're going to see what we could do against that. Boba Fett's armor is a pretty key card in this matchup. We only have one drop here. And let me shrink myself down a little bit, actually, so you guys could see a little bit better. But we only have the one drop, and I think we could do a little bit better. So I'm going to mulligan this and see if we can get just a slightly better, more valuable hand. And this one looks a little bit strange because we have a bunch of high-costed cards. But it's actually, I think, a little bit better as long as we draw a 3-drop. We resource the Chimera, we resource the Ruthless Raider, but we have the turn 1 Dr. Evazan, which is going to be pretty relevant. So we're going to go ahead and just play that straight up and pass. We drew a Boba Fett, which is quite nice. And I think I'd rather have the Fett's Fire Spray over the Ruthless Raider in my hand, just because, you're able to get in for a lot more damage. And this is one of those hits where you really want Triple Dark Raid for. But we're going to see what they're doing. They took initiative turn 1, which means that they probably are playing a control deck, as I mentioned. They probably power the dark side here, and maybe they ready some resource. Looks like they're playing Dr. Pershing. That's totally fine. I'm just going to go ahead and hit their base. I don't really see a reason not to. I don't really care about Dr. Pershing. If they try to draw some additional cards, that's totally fine. We get to go ahead and play Boba Fett, and then we're going to go ahead and pass. And, well, we can actually go ahead and put Boba Fett's armor on Boba Fett. Even though it's not the leader, it still does work. Here, I'm going to go ahead and resource a Ruthless Raider. At this point, we've resourced all 3 of our Ruthless Raiders and a Chimera, but we still have a lot of hits for a triple Dark Raid, so I'm not too worried about it. And here, I could play the Boba Fett's armor, or I could play the Gamorrean Guards. We have options. I would ideally like to play Gamorrean Guards because it's more resource efficient. And you can see here, you can give shield tokens with Lom Pike. I think that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and hit their base for 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and play a Gamorrean Guards. My guess is that they're going to pass. Maybe they'll deal 1 damage to Lom Pike or something. But if they action this, we can just straight up kill it with Boba. So that is something that they have to keep in mind. And I don't know if they want to sacrifice Dr. Pershing here, but I don't think I care about these cards, to be honest. I think I'm just here to get in a bunch of damage. And it looks like they just had an awkward hand to start us off, because Pershing on turn 3 or turn 2 instead of turn 1 doesn't really make a bunch of sense if you don't have anything else to play, but I suppose. I'm going to take it a little bit to think about what they need to do. Looks like they're going to activate it to draw a card. Looks like they're going to ping maybe the Lom Pike. Not 100% sure. Okay, they're going to hit itself. I am totally fine with just hitting their face. I don't really see a reason to hit their units. Both their units don't really do anything against my units. Yes, they could kill my Gamorrean Guards with their Lom Pike. That is totally fine. We did hit a triple Dark Raid, which is really, really quite interesting. I'm going to go into resources Gamorrean Guards. I do think we want to go with a triple Dark Raid here and see if we can hit something pretty nice, because then we still have the follow-up of, you know, being able to go ahead and just get in a ton of value with the Boba Fett's armor. So let's go ahead and actually just triple Dark Raid to start us off. I think they could have a shoot first, which would be pretty bad for against Boba Fett. No, I'm going to go ahead and get triple Dark Raid. Boom. We get a Xanadu Blood. We have to pay 1 additional, but that means that we get to potentially return something. We hit exhaust the resource. I don't think we want to return anything. Now, if they decide to hit like Dr. Evazan, for example, we can attack and then play Xanadu Blood, refresh, or attack with Xanadu Blood and bounce Dr. Evazan. But essentially what this was is triple Dark Raid, pay 4 resources, get 6 damage onto their base, which is pretty nice. Let's see what they decide to do here. Are they going to shield token something? Okay, they're just going to go ahead and hit our Boba Fett. So in this spot, I think what I want to do is actually just kill off their Lom Pike so I can ready an additional resource for Boba Fett's armor. And then I could even ready additional 2 resources if I would like to. So I sacrifice 3 damage, but I get Lom Pike off the battlefield. Yep, that makes sense. Just straight up kill Lom Pike. And this guarantees that I can go ahead and get some value. And look at that. We were able to attack with Xanadu Blood, bounce the Boba Fett that was about to die, and exhaust their Boba Fett, which is an absolutely just a nasty turn. Like, absolutely ridiculous. That is completely crazy. The Xanadu Blood here, triple Dark Raid didn't just give me the 6 damage to their base. That's not just what it did. It allowed me to get 6 damage to our base, save Boba Fett so they couldn't ready additional resources, and exhaust Boba Fett, and my goodness, was that amazing. And now we just get a Boba Fett's armor onto Boba Fett, we attack it to their base, and yes, the Xanadu Blood's gonna bounce, but that's totally fine. We just are trying to get as much damage as we possibly can. And we're gonna go and resource probably the Boba Fett at this point. And so it should have been, the Xanadu Blood should have been returned to our hand. But it looks like it's not working properly, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that's okay. So our opponent's going to go ahead and Vigilance, and they defeated. So they didn't pay any resources for it because they killed my Dr. Evazan, which is pretty sweet, to be honest. I think we just go ahead and get in for 6 here. Xanadu Blood. It should be bounced here. I'm not going to attack with it. I guess triple Dark Raid's not working perfectly on Carabas, but that's okay because we are totally fine with, you know, Xanadu Blood kind of sticking around, or not playing Xanadu Blood, because I wasn't planning on playing it anyways. I was planning on going for the Fett's Fire Spray so I can actually win the game this turn. But it looks like triple Dark Raid's not working. quite properly on Carabas. Yeah, that's okay. It kind of did what we were looking for. Okay, they're making opening my Xanadu Blood. There's no point in doing that. They should not have done that because it's not relevant, but it's okay. I'll play a Fet's Fire Spray. Opponent, I guess, doesn't look at the chat. But yeah, sure. Vigilance, they're going to hit my base. We're going to hit their base. They got to heal too. Would it have mattered if they hit my Boba Fett or with making an opening? Probably not, because it doesn't really change anything. They get to heal too regardless. And I mean, we're still in a pretty amazing position here, because next turn or the following action, we just get to take initiative here because we got nothing else to do anyways. And this was a really, really good example of what Triple Dark Raid is trying to do. And I know it's not perfect, and the mechanics are like perfect right now, but it does go ahead and kind of show what the value of something like that is. And look at that, Bosk with Boba Fett's armor, so worthless, as they're trying to hit the Boba Fett, but it doesn't matter. They had a Power of the Dark side, so it looks like they were a more controlling deck. They just had a pretty awkward draw. They could Bazine Natal, it doesn't matter. We just attack them and we win the game. Take whatever you want. Does not matter. Game is over. We get another shoot first, and does not matter. We are just going to attack their base, and the game is over. But yeah, I mean, Triple Dark Raid really did win us this game. We were able to exhaust the Boba Fett, which was really important because it looks like they had something to do with those additional resources. Well, that was really, really nice. That was really, really good. So first game, Triple Dark Raid. Huge game right there. On to the next game. Looks like it's double yellow Cad Bane, which looks pretty sweet. And this hand looks pretty good. I mean, we're going to go ahead and resource this Blaster. And then we get to go ahead and resource a Ruthless Raider. And then we have a nice 2-3 curve here for, you know, Kylo Ren Silencer into punishing one. And I think I want to do that over the Triple Dark Raid. It's nicer to play Triple Dark Raid when you have, well, specifically 4 resources, because you could pay the extra for Fet's Fire Spray, for your Ruthless Raider. So we'll just play a Silencer and we'll see what they decide to do. And we will pass. Boba Fett's armor, Chimera, not exactly the ideal draws, I will say, but that is okay. We're going to just smack in with the Silencer. Looks like they play a Body Rook. They're going to take our Triple Dark Raid most likely. Oh, they took the Boba Fett's armor. All right. I'm okay with that, to be honest. Playing Body is, you know, the first play is not really all that scary. We have a 7th Fleet Defender now and a Surprise Strike. I think I actually resource the 7th Fleet Defender because I think we could just get in for a ton of damage here. It really depends, of course, what they have. Like if they have a Cunning here, if they play a Jabba. Oh, I have to choose what damage to deal, a unit to deal damage to. Okay, sure. So we're gonna go ahead and hit for 3, and then we're gonna hit for another 3. Then we're gonna Triple Dark Raid, and we should bounce it back to our hand, but it doesn't look like it's working properly. Again, unfortunate, but it is what it is. We're just gonna see what we end up hitting. So Triple Dark Raid, we would choose the Fet's Fire Spray, we would attack it for 5, and then we would pass, and the Fet's Fire Spray would bounce to hand. Fire Spray, I'll mention it to them. I won't attack with the Fet's Fire Spray because it should be in our hand. That's just, you know, it is what it is. They could bounce the Jabba the Hutt with the Maklunki. And kill our punishing one if they'd like to. That does do some major work. And unfortunately for us, we would have bounced the Fet's Fire Spray, probably resourced the other Fet's Fire Spray if that was the case. But we're just going to play as if, you know, I don't think it matters too much because I think we would have tried to play the Fet's Fire Spray anyways. We would have just had an additional Ruthless Raider. And so if it ends up being the case in which we, you know, don't actually go ahead and have an additional Ruthless Raider when we need it, then it matters, but I don't think it will here. They're going to get in for some damage here. They're going to activate. Oh, they're just going to hit my base. Okay. Wait. When you play an Underworld card. Uh, I'm not sure what happened there. I guess they activated Jabba. Not sure what happened there. Not sure what happened there, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and get ready Boba, and we're going to attack for 7, which is going to be a huge amount of damage. I was trying to figure out what the heck happened there, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's just go ahead and use some of our resources, attack in for 7 on their base, and we will pass. So I was really confused. I was trying to figure out what happened with the Jabba the Hutt, but I don't know if it really matters here. Here, we would have had another Ruthless Raider in hand, as I mentioned, and the Double Fet's Fire Spray, but I don't think it would have mattered because, again, we have 3 lethal threats out. We would have had the other Fet's Fire Spray in hand, so we would have been able to attack with it regardless. And that's what we were going to do here. Anyways, we also have the Ruthless Raider. So, we ended up in a spot where I don't think the Triple Dark Raid not balancing matters, but it did matter there in terms of Triple Dark Raid was a 4 mana, 4 resource, deal 5. That's what it was, right? It hit the Fet's Fire Spray, it attacked for 5. And that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to get in early, get some damage in, and we're going to just do our best. And they want to rematch, so we're going to go ahead and rematch them as that was pretty nice and easy for us. And this hand looks like, well, pretty mediocre, but I don't think it's mulligan worthy because we could go ahead and resource the blaster plus probably the Ruthless Raider in order for us to have a little bit of a curve purpose here, but we get to play the Greedo, and then we have the Boba Fett. We also have the TIE Silencer here, which is nice, and the 7th Fleet Defender, but I think we just go with the Boba Fett, and as such, I'm going to go ahead and resource the TIE Silencer at this point. They're going to play Boba Fett, or Bodhi Rook, and we're going to attack in for 3. We're going to play at Boba Fett, and we're going to pass, and that blaster, remember, is 3 resources to go ahead and use, so it really does come down very quickly. Here's a Kylo Silencer. So I could go potentially 7th Fleet and Silencer, but I think I'd rather... I could go shoot first, 7th Fleet. No. I need to go 7th Fleet, Silencer, or shoot first plus Defender. And I think because I want to go ahead and shoot first, I will resource the Silencer. My guess is that they're going to want to be a little bit more aggressive here. Double Cutting's usually pretty aggressive. And Greedo is pretty bad against what they're trying to do, right? They can play an Underworld card. We can choose to deal 1 damage, but that's not amazing. They don't control another Underworld card, which is pretty unfortunate for them, I would say. So we could shoot first. They do not have another Underworld card. That shouldn't... That's okay, though. We're going to go ahead and shoot first. Oh, they undid it. Okay. They played a Greedo. Okay. Let's play a 7th Fleet Defender here. They're going to play the thing. And we're going to shoot first, killing their guy here. And then they're probably going to take initiative. And then we have the Syndicate Lackeys. We can attack for fun. And then pass. And then we have the blaster here. We all have 2 of them in the resource pile, which is quite nice. But yeah, I was trying to figure out what the heck happened there. It's not perfect, okay? The mechanics are not perfect right now. But it gives us some way to kind of showcase the decks in videos, which is kind of nice. So let's see what they got. Let's see what they've got. They're going to attack maybe into my Greedo. They shouldn't be able to do 1 damage to us. So Boba, so this guy is this guy's a little bit bugged, but that's okay. It is what it is. Let's see. I think what we want to do is probably just kill their... We'll attack their base here with the 3, and we probably want to kill their Greedo with the Boba Fett. And I think I want to attach a blaster to Boba Fett here. They're going to Cantina bounce my Boba Fett. Or I suppose they could bounce my 7th Fleet Defender. They have a lot of different options here. Okay, that does change things. I think I'd like to go ahead and play at the Syndicate Lackeys, ambush their Cantina Bouncer. We get to ready a resource. We get to ready up Boba. And then we get to go ahead and attack with Boba into their base. And then we get to play the 7th Fleet Defender yet again. Oh, whoops. I was trying to... There we go. Pass. There we go. I meant to attack with both units there so we get in some damage. But we have the double blaster in our resource pile, which we can play both of them this turn. We can play a Boba Fett's armor. We can play a Fett's fire spray. I'm going to kill my Boba Fett. Okay. Let's go ahead and just hit in with the Syndicate Lackeys for 5. Just get much damage in as possible, because I think we can just end the game here. They're going to Cunning. Okay. What are they exhausting / bouncing? I assume they bounce the 7th Fleet and exhaust my 2 units. Yep. Okay. I think in that case, because this guy comes down as a 4/8 in terms of attacks, I'm going to play out a Fett's Fire Spray and attack their base. They have a no good to me dead. All right. We're going to claim initiative. They can kill off one of my units if they'd like. They're going to hit my base. They're going to hit my base. Okay, so they don't even care about my units here, which is a little bit surprising. I think we just attack their base with the Syndicate Lackeys to start off with. I could play the upgrades as I was mentioning earlier, but I don't really see a reason to do so because they need to answer. Like, we have way more damage on the board than they do. They could have another Cunning here, which would be a lot of damage, no doubt, but we would also have the Ruthless Raider to put down, which would kill off their Starfighter here and do tail damage to their base. And then we'd have the Fett's Fire Spray. So they have another Cunning, which is very good for them, no doubt. They can return the Greedo to my hand if they'd like. They're going to buff up Cad Bane. So we'll go ahead and play a Ruthless Raider and kill off their 2/2. And they can actually kill my Boba Fett here, which is pretty nice for them if they'd like to. But again, I mean, we are so far ahead. Like, there's not really much they can do. They can Cartel Spacer. Sure. We will... Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Oops. I meant to ping the Cartel Space... the Boba Fett. This is really just a win for us. There's nothing that they can do. They kill Syndicate Lackey, sure. Probably should have killed Boba Fett, but that's okay. So now we just attack for 5 and win the game. Pretty simple. Triple Dark Raid, not exactly relevant there, but GG. I mean, Cad Bane, double yellow, doesn't look like it's working properly, but that's okay. That's okay. We got in with the win. All right, on to game number 4. And this is an awful hand. We have double Chimera, Fett's Fire Spray, Ruthless Raider, Triple Dark Raid, Syndicate Lackeys. This is definitely going to be a mulligan. And unfortunately for us, we did not mulligan into a play on turn 1, which we have quite a few of them. So that is decently unlucky. We have the Silencer, Greedo, Stormtrooper. We have Dr. Evazon. We just did not hit it. And here, I think I go ahead and resource probably the Surprise Strike and the Fett's Fire Spray. I think those cards are a little bit more situational. We have to claim initiative here on turn 1. There's a boss, which means they're going to be putting bounties on our units. So they might have, well, it looks like in this specific case, they did have a bounty to play and they didn't have a target for it. So that's pretty nice. Or they just, decided not to play anything. Let's go ahead and claim initiative here and see what's up next turn. They're going to guild target, and then deal 1 damage to my Boba Fett. Okay, not bad, but I think in this matchup, just putting a Boba Fett's armor onto our Boba Fett here is going to be really strong. Because the only way they get rid of this bounty is if they kill it, and dealing 1 damage to it does nothing with Boba Fett's armor. So that's just an absolute counter to that. And then, and they don't have another way to actually just straight up defeat it. Usually red and green are damage-based removal spells. Well, there's no way they can actually kill off my Boba Fett, which is kind of ridiculous. And then I'm just going to go ahead and kill their guy here only take 1 damage because then I can play a 7th Fleet Defender or a punishing one. That's crazy. That is really, really strong, honestly. Yeah, they're going to claim initiative. We have another play. We get to pass. We get double Dr. Evazan, which is pretty bad here. Don't really want Dr. Evazan to be played, as it's pretty weak when it's a little bit later on in the game. They have a Traitorous. Wow, okay, so they're playing Traitorous. I'm a little bit surprised at that, to be honest, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and hit in with the punishing one. And then let's see what they decide to do. They're going to hit in for some damage. We're going to triple Dark Raid. We're going to get a Ruthless Raider, I suppose. And we'll deal 0 damage to their Boba Fett. They can deploy Bosk, but the fact that this has the Boba Fett's armor is pretty brutal for us. So we attack for 4. We ready up Boba Fett. We can attack for, I suppose, 4 into their base and then pass. Ruthless later should be bounced. Ruthless should be bounced, so I won't attack with it. Same thing as normal. Nothing too crazy there. But Traitorous on our Boba Fett is huge. I'm surprised they're playing Traitorous in a deck that has, like, bounties. Like, that doesn't really seem very synergistic. In this situation, it worked out great for them, mind you. So I could see why. We have a Hotshot Blaster in our resource pile, just to note, which means that if we wanted to, we can do some major damage if our Boba Fett survives. So that is something that we do want to keep in mind. Yeah. So it should be bounced. Triple Dark Raid not working properly. It is what it is. This punishing one, I think, could get in a lot of damage. If they ever upgrade anything else on their side of the battlefield, it can get in for additional damage, but that's not really what we're trying to do. I thought about playing some bounties in the deck, maybe like Guild Target, for example, but here we are. Let's just go ahead and smuggle out the blaster here and just attack their base for 6. We're just trying to get in as much damage as we possibly can. They can open fire. That's fine. We get to go ahead and play probably just another punishing one. And then if they want to play their boss, can attack our Boba Fett, it just dies. So that's kind of nice. And they're going to claim initiative. Sure. They look to be probably trading with our Boba Fett with their Boba Fett. So that's totally fine. Here, I could probably resource... I mean, I could resource the Hotshot Blaster, as that doesn't really have a target right now. And then we have a bunch of space units here. That's one of the big things about Triple Dark Raid decks is we will have targets for it. And in the late game, we are just going to be playing a bunch of really strong space units like Chimera, like Ruthless Raider, and that's where we're ending up at the current moment. So here, I'll resource the Blaster. If it comes up later, it comes up later. If they attack my Boba Fett, that's totally fine. They probably should have readied up their Bosk multiple turns ago because they know that we are hitting their face. And that's kind of the race situation. That's why they open fired our space unit. But in this spot, like, they're going to strike true. Okay, yeah, strike true works. They probably have to kill the punishing one or Boba Fett here. Looks like they want to keep their Boba Fett around. Oh, they're gonna. Oh, that was not a good play, I don't think. I mean, we just hit them for 6 instead of 3. It looks like they're trying to make it so that they can keep around their Boba Fett, but I mean, this is just like dead. GG. GG. Yeah, they definitely have to kill my my Boba Fett there. That's just way too much damage. And if they wanted to strike true, then they had to hit the Boba Fett. That's just, it is what it is. All right, pretty nice. I mean, Triple Dark Raid there. It got the Ruthless Raider, got in for 4 damage. Again, 4 resources, 4 damage. That's what I'm looking at. All right, on to our final game of today. I've been really enjoying this deck. This looks like a fantastic hand. We get to go ahead and keep this. Obviously, we just go ahead and resource the Chimera, and we probably resource the Shoot first here, as we're playing its Double Blue Ray, and Double Blue Ray doesn't usually have that many space units that they really are playing to get a ton of value in the earlier turns. They can have a Concord Dawn Interceptors. They can have things like System Patrol Craft. Concord Dawn Interceptors is like the go-to card with Ray in space, so we'll see if they end up having it, but I am totally fine with going ahead and resourcing that Shoot first. And it looks like they have a Guardian of the Will, so we're going to go ahead and claim Initiative. That could be pretty scary, especially since they can put some upgrades on that, of course. Double Triple Dark Raid can be pretty useful. It's not a card you really want to play again on turn 2, as you really want to be 4 resources when you have it. As I've said many times, we're looking at a 4 resource deal 5. That's what we're kind of looking at. They're going to give a experience token over to Guardian of the Wills. We're going to go ahead and play our 7th Fleet Defender, and they're going to go ahead and give it a lightsaber. You got it. Claim Initiative. That is a fat Guardian of the Wills, and we didn't have the greatest start simply because we would have liked to be on the ground side of the battlefield if we could have, but we did not, but that's okay. We're going to get in for 6 here, and Ray is going to start getting pretty big pretty fast in terms of, her value here. And if they have a lot of controlling cards, this one Guardian of the Wills can just wreck us. If you go Guardian of the Wills and your opponent doesn't have any turn 1 play in the ground, then it will absolutely annihilate. And look at that, another Jedi Lightsaber. Pretty insane from our opponent. We are basically dead here pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and get a Ruthless Raider, just deal 2 damage to their Guardian of the Wills. We get to go ahead and probably attack their Restored Arc 170, and we get to pass. Once again, we are not going to be attacking with the Ruthless Raider here. Again, we shouldn't have it on the battlefield, so pretty standard stuff. Don't need another Silencer, as that's just going to killed by our other Silencer. They're going to hit in for 9 damage, which is pretty crazy. And we're going to go ahead and attack with the 7th Fleet Defender. They're going to claim Initiative. Okay, so what do we need to hit here? We need to hit a Ruthless Raider and a Boba Fett's armor. So we go, boom, another Triple Dark Raid. We have a Fett's Fire Spray. So we can deal 6. We Fett's Fire Spray hit for 5, 6. Wow, we are 1 damage short. So we would have flipped this, attack in, and then they can end the game. Wow, good game. Yeah, I mean, that's just what happens, if your opponent has double Jedi Lightsaber on the Guardian of the Wills to cheat a bunch of resources and nothing else, and you have no ground units, that thing can get the job done. That was pretty sweet from our opponent. Nothing too crazy there. If we had bounced the Ruthless Raider, it's not like we could have played it that turn, so that would not have mattered. I guess I should have gotten in for 4 damage to their base, because if we had, well, we would have, no, they could have killed our Silencer. So, I mean, there's nothing we really could have done, right? If we had killed their Arc 170, or not killed their Arc 170, they just hit our units, or they restore once, so we don't have enough damage. The real key there was that we absolutely needed a card that allowed us to play out our Boba Fett and actually kill the Guardian of the Wills. But there wasn't really anything that we had that could do that. We could have gone Xanadu Blood and tried to bounce some shenanigans and stuff, but I think that's pretty brutal. Like, that could have been the out, is like, if we go back and try to like Xanadu Blood exhausted at one point, and that's what we're looking for, maybe. But Triple Dark Raid, I mean, that was an absurd card. So what did we learn today with Triple Dark Raid and Boba Red? Well, Triple Dark Raid is absurd. We already knew Boba Fett's armor was absurd. We already knew that Hot Shot Blaster is really, really strong. We already knew these things. But the key is, how good does Triple Dark Raid, when you're building around it, perform? And every single time we used it, we hit something on 6 resources. And it's pretty uncommon for us not to. Remember, we have 7 hits off of, the triple dark raid that we really want, which is 6 resources. And by the time you're using the card, right, you are already somewhat like 38, 36 cards in the deck usually. Well, remember, you draw your initial 6, and then you're using this on usually turn 3 at the earliest, which means you've drawn an additional 4 cards. So you're down to already 40 cards in library. You usually use it later though. So 40 cards in library, assuming you haven't drawn a bunch of these and you hit the top 7, you are pretty likely to hit one of these 6 costed cards. We never put in a Chimera. I think getting these capital ships in, from what I've experienced, I've tried the Chimera, and in some games it's extremely relevant. It wins you the whole game. It's super massive. It hits in for 8 damage, which is huge, right? But usually, because of the way Boba works, you want to play on a Boba flip turn because that usually ends out the game. So I usually like to stick to the 6 costed ones. And Xanadu Blood actually ended up performing pretty well. So if I were to go ahead and change some things about this deck, I'd probably reduce the amount of Chimeras and just double down on the vehicles that costed 6 or 5 resources. Alongside that, the rest of the deck is just a way to kind of get in early damage. And we are much more of an aggressively situated deck than most other decks. I think that's what you kind of want to do with Triple Dark Raid. Or you play a much more high value, get something off of Triple Dark Raid on play and on attack. Like the Xanadu Blood, where you're able to exhaust things, for example. Something like Avenger, where you're able to get something killed and then attack with it, get another thing killed. But if you're just playing this and you're not getting any value, like you're just playing it to try to get an early costed vehicle on the battlefield and then attack with it, that doesn't matter unless you're actually putting on pressure to your opponent, right? And that's what we're trying to do with these earlier plays. I think another thing that we want to maybe switch up in this deck is potentially play more earlier creatures or earlier units, like, the Wookiee, the 3/3 Wookiee, I think could be really good in this deck. But overall, it performed really well, and we were able to get a ton of damage in early. That's what Triple Dark Raid's supposed to do. Mind you, if you are playing against like Sabine or one of the more aggressively situated decks, you can play Triple Dark Raid as a removal spell. It's not the greatest, but it does do that in this deck. Like if they wing leader up an A-Wing, well, you get a Xanadu Blood, you get to kill their A-Wing. You get a Fetz Fire Spray, you get to kill their A-Wing, which can be pretty relevant as well. And because we have so many space units with the Punishing One, Fleet Defender, TIE Silencer, we are really, really able to control space and not really get overwhelmed like that. But on the flip side, if they put 2 lightsabers on their Guardian of the Wills, you just lose. So that is exactly what happened in that game. Of course, if we had a Dr. Evazan, let's say turn 1, and they went with the same plan, we would have just killed their Guardian of the Wills after they put an experience token on it, which would have been a nightmare for them. So that card's really hit or miss, and well, that's just kind of how the game goes sometimes. But let me know what you think about Triple Dark Raid and Boba's decks in the next set. I mean, I feel like you have so many different options with Boba. All the cards seem to like be super good with Boba. You could even play like Forlom and Zuckuss in this deck instead of Gamorrean guards and Syndicate lackeys. But I figured since, we didn't really want to double down on the ground units and try to go that direction, I thought maybe we could just go ahead and get the instant always Syndicate lackey ambush and the Gamorrean guards. But to be honest, those cards were pretty mediocre regardless. And I think Forlom and Zuckuss would be better. That and they aren't actually programmed in Karabas yet. So I think also if you were to change this deck up and add a few different cards, you could play the 3 copies Forlom, 3 copies of Zuckuss, and just have that absurd curve out, right? Ambush is really nice. I think that's more important than Sentinel anyways. And having a 6/6 instead of a 5/4 and potentially a 7/7 ambush is pretty absurd. So just be on the lookout for that, guys. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Swoop down also instead of shoot first. Also pretty good. But that one's also not programmed yet. Lots of different modifications, lots of experimenting to do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.